think we're good. I'm my own cameraman because Mike is at sea for another week. Yep, COVID affects everybody, right? So, yeah. By the way, thanks everybody for wearing your masks without being asked. I appreciate it. Hopefully we're not into this too much longer. Yeah, thanks for doing your part. So, today I'm going to talk about Easy Layer Quilts 2. So, this is a book by Martingale Publishing, and it's the two sisters, me and my sisters' designs. Really nice ladies. Okay, so I've done 2 quilts out of this. Well, one's about to get quilted. I've just finished a video on pre-cuts, so if you watch that, this will help too on just a few little things. So I just want to talk about some helpful things going through this and using layer cakes in a quilt. So the first one I did was 10 cents. So that's what it looks like. That's not what mine looks like. And so they're actually, you know what? It's a funny thing. I think that's a Sweetwater fabric, which I used on the other one. So for this quilt, they use 36 10-inch squares. So that's what I used. And that's what it looks like. Yay! So I used 36 10-inch squares, and then you need to add the binding and then this spacer. The fabric I used, I got to use it because it's by a lady named Joanne Porter, and my name with my main name is Joanne Potter. So guess what? I get to use it, and I love these sunflowers. So they're just so beautiful and rich. So a lot of layer cakes have a lot of lights and darks and variety. This one, there wasn't a lot in the line. So this is one of those layer cakes that there's the repeats of quite a few, like not just double ups, but quite a few. So what I did, rather than going lights or darks, I went with the florals. So I go through them and I put them into piles of the most contrast. So for this, it worked with, I took all the florals and I put them with one of the tone on tones. So that's how I matched them up. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that. And then there was this one in here, this one. It was kind of florally, well, it's leafy. So I used it as a tone on tone. It read more like that. And I just think it turned out nice. And then on the back, I used the fern fabric. And then I was so excited to quilt it in yellow. The yellow thread, it just looks, yeah. I don't know why I was so excited about that, but yeah. So with that one of the things that happened too is they tell you to trim it down to a certain size. And because I use the slotted trimmer, which is such a great trimmer, if you haven't tried that, we have a couple videos on that too. I could leave them bigger than what they called for. So I thought, am I going to need more of this spacer fabric, right? Because now they have to be a little bit bigger. And I didn't. It was still great. So I left my blocks a little bit bigger than they called for, just because they could. And I thought, well, why not have a bigger quilt? I don't need to trim that much off. So as long as you have enough for that spacer part, that's great. So that's all I did when I went with this layer cake. I took all the florals and I took the more tone on tones and I put them in one pile, and then I matched them up and continued on through the pattern. So I would have 2 piles, tone on tones and more floral. So that's how I use that layer cake. And again, I talked about that in the pre-cut video, is if the peaks, like using the little peaks, you know, if it was slightly bigger with the little peaks here, it doesn't matter because they get trimmed down. So I'm not, you know, they're all going to be trimmed. Okay, so the second one I did out of this, and I'm going to be quilting that tomorrow. I have to base it, but the top's done. It's called Easy Bake. So I really don't like that fabric they used. And I think that's important to know, that you need to look at the pattern and do you like the pattern, because it's going to work with whatever layer cake you use. You just make it work. So again, and this one too, it does 2 different piles. So it has you separate your layer cake into 2 separate piles. And so I automatically go with, like when I have a layer cake, I go through it and it starts off with all the creams. So, and if there's double, I'll put one here, one here, one here, one here. So I'll go cream, 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 cream. So I'll have equal amounts of cream and then say equal amounts of yellow and equal amounts of grays in them. And then if there's 2 of one, I don't put them in the same pile. So when I was doing this, I realized that maybe I shouldn't have done that with this one because the squares that they make out of one pile, all stay in that. And I thought, oh, it doesn't matter because they're not going to be next to each other. But it actually worked out well that way because when you cut these up, how they have here, you're going to be sewing them back together. So it's good to have that variety so you're not trying to manage not having the same fabric in the same block, right? So it never, so there's what my blocks look like. Yeah, so it was easy to make a block and not have the same fabric twice. Or, you know, I mean, sometimes there was fish in both of them, but. So the line I used is timber, and it was much like that one I showed you where it had creams and then yellows and then greens. And so I went through that. I put cream, cream, green, 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 yellow, 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 and into this 2 separate piles. So it turned out really well for that. And that's what it looks like. And that's why I like a layer cake, because look at the variety. It's just so fun. Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about, I think I lost you there for a second, is I knew I was going to use that for the binding. And because I didn't need all 42, I could pull that fish, and I think there was only one of the green fish. So I didn't use that layer cake. I pulled it because that was going to be my binding. And I don't like to have that fabric in the quilt and then next to that because it runs into it, right? Like there's no definition. And as much as I say, okay, I'll put it in there and I just will make sure it's in the middle of the quilt, somehow it always gravitates to the outside and ends up next to the small border. Go figure. So anyways, I can pull it and I don't need it. I just pulled it. And then so I'm going to use that also for my binding. And I used this for the border. And that didn't matter if it was in here because it's divided up by this. And then on the back, I'm going to use the words. So that's a nice backing. Yeah. Yeah, and they have all different Lake Clark, Redwood, Badlands, all in National Park. So this line is Timber by Sweetwater. And we're also going to have another quilt up soon by them. Carol's doing it, and the pattern's called Formation that we have. And it's quite different, using the same fabrics, but it uses fat quarters, another pre-cut. And yeah, it looks way different. And hers is Flying Geese, but you can't use Flying Goose ruler because they're bigger than what the Flying Geese ruler does. So, okay, I think that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. So, Layer Cakes, great book. There's lots in here, lots more quilts. And yeah, if you don't like the fabric they use in it, oh, that's a really nice quilt too. I did look at doing that one. And that would look great with the Robin Pickens fabric, the Caroline and Lilies. Yeah, so they used one of her fabrics, but not that line. Yeah, so it's a great book. These ladies are super nice. Yeah, lots to offer in this book. Yeah, it's actually a really good price too. Okay, it's actually less than $35. I could put my glasses on. Yeah, so that's really good. Good price for a book. And yeah, enjoy your weekend. And hopefully spring is near. I think that's all we have to say, right, puppies? They're moaning and crying. Okay, thanks. And thanks for watching. See you later.